What if you suddenly lost everything and had no one by your side? The news alert popped up on Claire Mitchell's phone just as she was scrolling through endless social media feeds, the glowing screen lighting up the dim apartment she barely recognized anymore. Elon Musk was heading to the White House for a secret meeting, one that no one outside the inner circle expected or understood. Claire's heart skipped a beat. She had always admired Musk's audacity, the way he pushed boundaries while the rest of the world hesitated. But for her, today, the news was more than just a headline. It was a flicker of hope in a life that had become a shadow of the dreams she once held. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? The news anchor urged, her words cutting through the static like a lifeline. Claire whispered those words to herself, clutching the phone like a lifebuoy in a sea of uncertainty. Just 6 months ago, she had everything: a promising tech startup, investors ready to back her vision, a loving family that cheered her on. But then the market crashed, funding evaporated, and with it, her dream. The relentless pressure, the failed product launch, the endless meetings that led nowhere, it all culminated in one crushing defeat that left her bankrupt and alone. Her younger brother, Jake, was her only anchor, a steady voice on the phone reminding her she wasn't alone, but even that felt fragile these days. As the news played on, Claire's mind drifted back to the moments that shaped her. Growing up in a small town in Ohio, she'd always been the kid who dreamed big despite the odds. Her father, a hardworking but emotionally distant man, never quite understood her ambitions, believing stability was the only path to happiness. Their strained relationship left a void she tried to fill with work and determination. Her mother passed away when Claire was 16, and that loss hardened her resolve even more. Technology wasn't just a career choice, it was her escape, her chance to build something meaningful beyond the limitations she'd known. Now, as she watched Musk's image flicker on the screen, Claire felt a strange mix of envy and admiration. He was the embodiment of fearless innovation, the kind of leader who dared to challenge the status quo. If only she could find a sliver of that courage for herself. The White House meeting was shrouded in secrecy, but rumors hinted at Musk unveiling a new project that could change the future of energy and transportation. For Claire, who had spent sleepless nights brainstorming sustainable tech solutions, it was more than just news, it was a call to action. She couldn't sit idle any longer. Her fingers trembled as she typed out an email to the summit organizers, a long shot to be part of the event where Musk would speak. The response came quicker than she expected, an invitation to attend the Innovation Summit. Claire's pulse quickened. This was it, a chance to step back into the arena, to prove she hadn't lost her spark. Yet doubt gnawed at her. Could she face the world after failure? Could she stand shoulder to shoulder with industry giants and not crumble? Jake's voice echoed in her mind, cautioning her not to get hurt again. But hope, that stubborn ember, flared brighter. In the days leading to the summit, Claire immersed herself in preparation. She revamped her pitch, rehearsed her presentation, and pushed away the ghosts of past mistakes. The night before the event, sleep eluded her as visions of the White House halls and flashing cameras filled her mind. The morning sun found her standing outside the grand gates, heart pounding, breath shallow. Inside, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement and tension. Innovators, politicians, and journalists mingled in the ornate rooms, each carrying their own stories of triumph and struggle. Claire felt small yet fiercely determined. Then, the moment came. Elon Musk took the stage, his presence electrifying. He spoke with passion about the future, about risks worth taking, and about the power of perseverance. His words struck a chord deep within Claire, awakening a courage she thought she'd lost. But the summit was not without its challenges. Claire encountered rivals who saw her as a threat, whispering doubts and questioning her ideas. The tension thickened, but she refused to back down. When it was her turn to present, nerves threatened to consume her, but she pressed on, pouring her heart into every word. The reception was lukewarm, leaving her unsure if she'd made any impact at all. Yet, just as despair began to creep in, a White House advisor approached her with a nod of approval and an offer of guidance. It was a glimmer of hope in an otherwise daunting world. Still, the path ahead was fraught with obstacles. Media leaks, political games, and personal betrayals awaited. Claire realized that this summit was only the beginning of a journey that would test her limits in ways she had never imagined. As she left the building that day, the weight of uncertainty settled on her shoulders, but so did a newfound resolve. Elon Musk's unexpected presence at the White House had ignited something inside her, a fire to reclaim her destiny, to fight for her dreams, and to prove that even when you lose everything, the spark of hope can light the way forward. Claire Mitchell sat alone in her tiny apartment, the pale light of the city leaking through the blinds casting long shadows on the walls. The hum of her old laptop filled the quiet, a constant reminder of a past she wasn't ready to let go of. It had been nearly a year since her startup, BrightPath Technologies, collapsed, dragging with it not only her financial security but the fragile confidence she'd built since childhood. The failures echoed loudly in her mind, the boardroom meetings where investors had turned cold, the tech demo that fell apart on live stream, the harsh words exchanged with her closest partners. Each memory was a stab, a question: was she just not good enough? She traced the scar on her wrist absent-mindedly, a souvenir from a night when the weight of disappointment nearly crushed her. Her father's voice haunted her, distant but clear: "You need to learn when to quit, Claire. Not everything is meant to be." He'd never said those words to hurt her, but they had shattered something deep inside. The truth was, Claire had always been the ambitious one in the family, the dreamer who refused to accept limits. Growing up in Dayton, Ohio, in a modest household with 2 siblings and parents who valued hard work over risk, Claire's ideas often met with skepticism. Her mother, gentle and nurturing, had been her secret cheerleader, encouraging her to reach for the stars even when the ground beneath seemed shaky. When her mother died suddenly from illness during Claire's senior year of high school, the loss changed everything. The family pulled away from each other, grief knitting a wall of silence between them. Claire buried herself in studies and coding, finding solace in algorithms and the endless possibilities of technology. Her father, a factory supervisor, had never quite known how to express his emotions, and the distance grew wider. The fragile threads of love were there but tangled in misunderstandings and unspoken regrets. College brought a brief respite. At MIT, Claire flourished academically but struggled socially. She was brilliant, but loneliness gnawed at her, the pressure to succeed crushing at times. Her closest bond was with Jake, her younger brother, who had a knack for seeing through her tough exterior and reminding her that she was never alone. After graduation, she poured every ounce of herself into BrightPath Technologies, a startup focused on renewable energy solutions for everyday consumers. The first 2 years were a whirlwind of excitement and exhaustion, from garage coding sessions to pitching in smoky investor lounges. She built a team, formed friendships, and tasted what it felt like to believe in a future she was creating. But the tech world was ruthless, and funding dried up when the economy dipped. Her biggest investor pulled out last minute, and the company crumbled. She was left with debt, broken partnerships, and a sense of failure that clung like a shadow. The experience left scars deeper than any physical wound. Claire found herself withdrawing from the world, avoiding calls from friends and family, ashamed of the fall. Jake's texts were lifelines, gentle reminders that she wasn't defined by a single setback. "You're stronger than this," he'd write. "We all fall, but you get back up." It was Jake who first told her about the White House summit, mentioning Elon Musk's upcoming appearance and suggesting Claire try to get involved. At first, she resisted. The idea of stepping back into the spotlight terrified her. What if she failed again? What if she was a joke to the tech elite? But the spark Musk ignited inside her after his speech, the vision, the fearless drive, rekindled something she thought was lost. She realized she couldn't let fear dictate her life anymore. The invitation to the summit was more than an event, it was a crossroads. In those tense weeks leading to the summit, Claire wrestled with her demons. Late at night, memories of her mother's smile softened her resolve. She wrote long emails to her estranged father, trying to bridge the gap, though she wasn't sure he'd ever respond. Her team at BrightPath had dissolved, but a few old colleagues reached out, offering support and encouragement. The professional world she once inhabited seemed distant and cold, but her personal world was fractured and raw. That tension fueled her determination. She started preparing a new pitch, one that wasn't about proving others wrong but proving to herself that she still had a voice, a purpose. In quiet moments, she would catch herself wondering if she was chasing a ghost, the idea of success she'd once held, but those thoughts were fleeting. Claire's psychology was a complex weave of hope and fear, resilience and doubt. She was fiercely independent yet deeply lonely, craving connection but wary of vulnerability. Her past failures weren't just business setbacks, they were emotional earthquakes that reshaped how she viewed trust, ambition, and love. Relationships were tricky territory. Her brother was her rock, but even he worried she was pushing too hard. Her father remained distant, his own regrets locked behind a wall of pride. Claire had learned to hide her pain behind sharp wit and quick thinking, but inside, the wounds throbbed. The upcoming summit wasn't just a professional milestone, it was an emotional test. Could she face not only the industry titans but also her own insecurities? The days before the event, Claire found herself reflecting on the people who had shaped her. Her mother's faith in her dreams, her brother's unwavering belief, her father's silent sacrifices, they were all threads in her story, fueling her fragile courage. She realized that failure didn't have to be the end. It could be a chapter in a longer narrative, one she was still writing. The summit itself was a swirl of adrenaline and anxiety. Walking the halls of the White House, surrounded by historic portraits and the murmur of powerful voices, Claire felt both humbled and emboldened. The weight of history pressed on her, but so did the promise of possibility. Meeting other innovators and visionaries reminded her of the vastness of human potential, and the battles each had fought. Elon Musk's speech was a crescendo of passion and conviction. Listening to him describe the risks, failures, and triumphs of his journey, Claire felt the knots of doubt loosen just enough to breathe. Here was a man who had faced public failures yet refused to stop dreaming. If he could do it, maybe she could too. Yet, the summit wasn't without conflict. Claire quickly realized the competitive undercurrent, rival entrepreneurs eager to outshine her, journalists looking for a scandal, politicians with hidden agendas. The tension was palpable, a reminder that success was never handed out freely. When it came time for her pitch, Claire's hands shook, but her voice held steady. She spoke not as a desperate entrepreneur but as a woman reclaiming her story. The initial response was cool, some skeptical, others dismissive. But a White House advisor's nod and quiet encouragement planted a seed of hope. Claire left the summit with mixed feelings, uncertain if she had made a mark but certain she hadn't given up. That night, as she lay awake, the enormity of the journey ahead settled in. The White House was more than a symbol, it was a crucible. Inside those walls, decisions were made that shaped the future, and she was now part of that story. She didn't know what awaited her next, but Claire was ready to find out. The woman who had once lost everything was beginning to rise, and the world was about to watch. The morning of the Innovation Summit arrived with a chill in the air and an electric buzz of anticipation that seemed to ripple through Washington, D.C. Claire Mitchell stood outside the towering marble entrance of the White House, the imposing pillars and the well-manicured lawns feeling surreal against the backdrop of her personal turmoil. It wasn't just any conference, this was the crossroads where technology met politics, where dreams collided with power. Claire adjusted the strap of her modest bag, clutching her presentation notes like a lifeline. She had spent sleepless nights refining her pitch, but now that the moment was here, a knot of anxiety twisted deep in her stomach. The security check was thorough, agents with sharp eyes and curt nods letting her pass into the labyrinth of hallways where history was made and futures shaped. The grandeur of the White House did nothing to calm her racing mind. Inside, the air was thick with whispered conversations, the shuffle of footsteps, and the subtle but unmistakable tension of competitors sizing each other up. Claire caught glimpses of innovators with polished suits, confident smiles, and eyes that seemed to gleam with ambition. She felt like a small fish in a giant, intimidating pond. Her first stop was the registration desk, where she was handed a badge identifying her as a participant. The badge felt like a small victory, proof that she belonged here, even if just barely. She made her way to the main hall where the summit's opening remarks would take place. The walls were adorned with portraits of presidents past, their stoic faces watching over the gathering. Claire couldn't help but wonder what they would think of this crowd of visionaries and dealmakers pushing the boundaries of innovation. Soon, the room filled with the hum of conversation, and the air grew thick with the scent of coffee and anticipation. Claire found a quiet corner to settle, reviewing her notes once more. Her mind drifted to Jake, who had called early that morning to wish her luck, his voice steady and encouraging. "You've got this, Claire. Remember, it's not just about the pitch, it's about the story you tell." Those words echoed in her mind, giving her a sliver of calm. The first speaker took the stage, a government official who spoke of the administration's commitment to fostering innovation and sustainable technology. The crowd applauded politely, but Claire's attention was laser-focused on what was to come: Elon Musk. When Musk finally appeared, the room erupted with a mixture of awe and skepticism. He strode confidently to the podium, his trademark grin and casual demeanor masking the intensity of his vision. Musk didn't waste time on pleasantries. He launched into a passionate speech about humanity's future, electric cars, space exploration, renewable energy, and the necessity of taking risks. His words were a jolt of adrenaline, stirring the crowd but also ruffling feathers among traditionalists. Claire felt the familiar fire ignite inside her. Here was a man unafraid to dream bigger than anyone else in the room. After the speech, the summit opened into a series of breakout sessions and networking events. Claire mingled cautiously, feeling the weight of curious glances and guarded conversations. She met several other entrepreneurs, some warm and encouraging, others cold and competitive. Among them was Victoria Crane, a polished and sharp-tongued tech CEO whose reputation preceded her. Victoria's eyes locked onto Claire with a look that was equal parts challenge and dismissal. "So, you're the hopeful underdog," Victoria said with a tight smile. "This isn't a charity event. It's where winners make deals." The remark stung, but Claire held her ground, forcing a polite smile. "I'm here to share ideas, not handouts." The tension was subtle but palpable, a reminder that the world Claire was trying to re-enter was not welcoming to second chances. As the day wore on, Claire's nerves intensified. She had prepared for questions, objections, even hostile critics, but the undercurrent of rivalry felt sharper than expected. Her pitch was scheduled late in the afternoon, leaving her time to observe, learn, and steel herself. When it was finally her turn, Claire stepped onto the stage in a small conference room filled with investors, advisors, and media representatives. The projector flickered on, and she launched into her presentation, a vision for a new line of affordable, solar-powered home devices designed to revolutionize energy consumption in everyday households. She spoke with passion, emphasizing the social impact as well as the technology. But as she spoke, Claire noticed some faces in the crowd shift, skeptical whispers exchanging like static electricity. When she finished, the room remained silent for a beat longer than she expected before questions began. One investor challenged the feasibility of her prototypes, another questioned the scalability, and a journalist pressed on potential environmental trade-offs. Claire answered as best as she could, but the weight of doubt was heavy. She saw Victoria Crane sitting with a thin smile, her eyes sharp and calculating. After the session, as Claire gathered her materials, she felt a hand on her shoulder. It was David Lang, a White House advisor who had listened carefully to her pitch. "You have promise," he said quietly. "Don't let today's skepticism define your future. The right support can change everything." That moment offered a glimmer of hope amid the harsh realities of the day. Yet, even as Claire felt a spark of encouragement, the summit's atmosphere grew charged with controversy. Elon Musk's offhand comments during a panel discussion about disrupting government bureaucracy ignited a media firestorm. Headlines splashed across smartphones accusing Musk of arrogance, while politicians scrambled to distance themselves. The tension between innovation and politics was tangible, a battleground Claire now found herself navigating. By evening, the summit had transformed into a maze of alliances and rivalries. Claire overheard whispers of leaks, confidential project details circulating among reporters. She wondered if someone had targeted her. The paranoia gnawed at her, but she couldn't afford distraction. That night, alone in her hotel room, Claire stared out at the Washington skyline, her reflection a ghost on the glass. The weight of expectations, the sting of rejection, and the cold reality of competition pressed in. But beneath it all, a stubborn ember glowed, the desire to prove she belonged, to turn this moment into a turning point. She pulled out her phone and typed a message to Jake: "It's tougher than I thought, but I'm still here. For now, that's enough." The reply came quickly. "One step at a time. I believe in you." In that exchange, Claire found the strength to face whatever came next. The summit was only the beginning. What no one expected was about to unfold inside the White House, something that would challenge not only the future of technology but the very nature of hope, ambition, and human connection. And Claire Mitchell was about to be at the heart of it all. The morning after the summit's whirlwind, Claire Mitchell awoke with a mix of exhaustion and restless anticipation. The events of the day before had left her emotionally raw, some moments filled with hope, others with doubt and sharp-edged conflict. She stared at the ceiling of her hotel room, the faint buzz of the city drifting through the window like a distant promise. Today was the start of a new journey, one she hadn't planned but couldn't refuse. An unexpected email had arrived late last night from David Lang, the White House advisor who had shown her a flicker of support. The message was brief but unmistakable. "Meet me at the East Wing conference room at 10 a.m. We have much to discuss." Claire's heart pounded as she dressed quickly, the weight of what might come ahead settling like a stone in her chest. The East Wing of the White House was a place reserved for quiet power and urgent decisions, far from the public eye. Walking through the labyrinthine halls felt like stepping into a different world, a place where history and ambition collided in whispers and guarded glances. David greeted her with a nod, his expression serious but not unkind. "Claire, your presentation caught the attention of some key people. There's potential here, but you'll need to navigate carefully. The landscape is more complicated than it seems." He slid a folder across the polished mahogany table. Inside were documents detailing a new initiative, an ambitious government partnership aiming to fund and develop sustainable technologies that could reduce the nation's carbon footprint dramatically. "This project has high stakes," David explained. "Political pressures, private interests, and powerful lobbyists all have their eyes on it. We need innovators who can withstand the heat." Claire absorbed the information, a mixture of excitement and apprehension swelling inside her. This was more than she had dared hope for, but also a challenge unlike any she'd faced before. As they talked, Claire realized that the next phase of her journey wouldn't just be about technology, it would be a test of her resilience, diplomacy, and integrity. Over the following days, Claire was introduced to a diverse team of scientists, policymakers, and fellow entrepreneurs. The atmosphere was electric but tense, a blend of hopeful idealism and guarded skepticism. She met Dr. Elena Ramos, a passionate climate scientist whose fiery commitment to change inspired Claire immediately. Elena's knowledge of the environmental stakes added urgency to every conversation, reminding Claire that their work could shape the future for generations to come. But tensions simmered beneath the surface. Some members were wary of Claire's relatively small startup background, questioning if she could handle the political and technical complexities. Victoria Crane's shadow loomed large even here, as her company was also vying for government funding. The subtle power plays reminded Claire that this was a battlefield, and every alliance mattered. One afternoon, as Claire walked through the sprawling corridors, she overheard a heated discussion between two senior advisors debating the scope of the project. One argued for a conservative approach focused on incremental changes, while the other pushed for bold, transformative innovation. Claire's heart quickened. This was the kind of high-stakes conflict she had only dreamed of participating in. The following week brought long hours in strategy meetings, workshops, and brainstorming sessions. Claire found herself growing both exhausted and invigorated. The work was grueling, the stakes high, but the camaraderie among the team offered moments of genuine connection. At night, Claire would retreat to her hotel room, poring over notes and plans, the lines between exhaustion and inspiration blurring. One evening, she received a call from Jake. His voice was warm, a steady presence amid the chaos. "How's the White House treating you?" he asked. Claire hesitated before answering honestly, about the pressure, the rivalries, the unexpected opportunities. "It's like being thrown into a storm," she said. "But maybe storms are what we need to clear the air." As the days passed, Claire began to uncover a hidden layer of complexity. Leaks from the summit had stirred controversy, and political opponents were lining up to criticize the project. Media outlets spun stories about behind-the-scenes power struggles, casting doubt on the initiative's viability. Claire realized that success wouldn't just depend on innovation, it would depend on navigating a minefield of political agendas, media scrutiny, and personal rivalries. One morning, a startling development shook the team. A confidential report surfaced, accusing one of the lead contractors of falsifying environmental data to secure funding. The news sent shockwaves through the project. Trust fractured, and Claire found herself at the center of intense scrutiny. She questioned who she could really rely on. The betrayal cut deep, echoing the personal wounds she had tried to bury. But in that moment of crisis, Claire saw something unexpected. Her colleagues rallied, determination hardening like steel. Dr. Elena Ramos called an emergency meeting, urging transparency and accountability. "This is our chance to prove what we stand for," Elena said passionately. Claire found strength in those words, realizing that integrity was the true foundation of their work. In the weeks that followed, Claire led efforts to rebuild trust, working late into the night to expose corruption and restore confidence in the project. The fight was exhausting and emotionally draining, but also deeply transformative. She learned to speak up, to negotiate, and to lead with both heart and mind. The East Wing, once intimidating and remote, became a place where Claire carved out her own space, a space of influence and possibility. Her relationship with David Lang deepened, his mentorship guiding her through political minefields and ethical dilemmas. At the same time, tensions with Victoria Crane escalated. Victoria's polished veneer cracked during a particularly heated debate, revealing a ruthless drive that unsettled Claire. The rivalry became a defining feature of the journey, each woman pushing the other to the edge, a clash of ideals and ambitions. Yet, even amidst the turmoil, moments of unexpected friendship and solidarity emerged. A quiet lunch with Dr. Ramos turned into a heartfelt conversation about loss, sacrifice, and the burdens of leadership. Claire shared memories of her mother, and Elena spoke of the climate crisis that drove her passion. The connection grounded Claire, reminding her why she had chosen this path. As the project advanced, Claire was thrust into the spotlight more than she had anticipated. Media requests, government briefings, and public appearances tested her resolve. She struggled to balance authenticity with diplomacy, often feeling the weight of representing not just herself but a cause larger than any one person. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, Claire stood on the balcony of her hotel room, gazing out at the shimmering Washington skyline. The city lights flickered like stars, a reminder of the vastness of the world and the smallness of a single life. She thought of her journey. From the quiet Ohio town to the halls of power, and the woman she was becoming. The path had been anything but straight. It was winding, filled with obstacles and unexpected turns. But through it all, Claire felt a growing sense of purpose and belonging. What Elon Musk had sparked inside the White House was more than a project or a policy, it was a call to action, a challenge to redefine what was possible. And Claire Mitchell was ready to answer. The journey ahead promised trials and triumphs, heartbreak and hope. But as she took a deep breath, Claire knew one thing with certainty: no one expected what was coming next. And neither did she. The breakthrough came suddenly, like a bolt of lightning on a stormy night, shaking everything Claire had believed possible. It started with a late-night call from David Lang, his voice urgent but controlled. "Claire, you need to come to the Situation Room. Now." The word sent a jolt through her, adrenaline flooding her veins as she rushed through the quiet corridors of the White House, the echoes of her footsteps mingling with the weight of what was to come. When she arrived, the room was already filled with key players, government officials, security advisors, scientists, all clustered around a glowing digital map that pulsed with data. Elon Musk was there too, his face a mixture of determination and concern. The atmosphere was electric, tension thick enough to cut with a knife. "We've just received intelligence," David began, eyes scanning the room, "that a cyber attack is underway, targeting critical infrastructure connected to our project. If it succeeds, it could set us back years, undermine public trust, and cause widespread damage." Claire felt a cold wave of fear crash over her. Months of work, countless sacrifices, suddenly hanging by a thread. The project was no longer just a vision, it was a battleground. Elon stepped forward, his trademark confidence tempered by gravity. "This attack isn't random. It's coordinated by interests threatened by change, those who profit from the status quo. We have to act fast, not just to protect our work, but to send a message that innovation can't be stopped by fear." The team sprang into action, a flurry of calls, commands, and technical maneuvers unfolding like a well-choreographed dance. Claire watched, heart pounding, as experts traced the source of the attack and began countermeasures. The hours stretched on, each moment heavier than the last. Outside the Situation Room, Claire's phone buzzed relentlessly. Messages from Jake, worried friends, news alerts flashing warnings of blackouts and disruptions spreading across the region. The media was already picking up the story, speculation running wild. Claire felt the pressure mounting, the weight of responsibility crushing. But in the eye of the storm, something unexpected happened. Amid the chaos, a team of young cybersecurity specialists, some barely older than Claire herself, emerged as unsung heroes. Their expertise and quick thinking turned the tide, blocking the attack and restoring control. Watching them work with fierce determination and youthful passion, Claire felt a surge of hope. This was the future, brilliant minds fighting to protect progress. As dawn broke over Washington, the crisis was averted, but the scars remained. The project was shaken but not broken. Elon addressed the team, his voice steady and resolute. "This is a defining moment. We can let fear dictate our future, or we can stand together and push forward." Claire found herself standing beside him, sharing in the resolve that lit up the room. The emotional intensity was overwhelming, a roller coaster of fear, hope, despair, and courage that left everyone breathless. In the days that followed, the fallout from the cyber attack dominated headlines. Some criticized the government's handling of security, others questioned the viability of the project. Claire faced difficult interviews and tough questions, her every word scrutinized. But she refused to back down. Each challenge became a testament to her growing strength and leadership. She saw in herself a transformation, from uncertain newcomer to confident advocate. Yet, amidst the external battles, Claire's inner world churned with unresolved emotions. The memory of her mother's struggles, the sacrifices Jake had made to support her, the fragile bonds of trust she had rebuilt, all these threads wove through her mind, fueling her determination but also weighing on her heart. One evening, after a particularly grueling press conference, Claire retreated to a quiet corner of the White House gardens. The night air was cool and still, stars glittering overhead like distant promises. She closed her eyes, letting the silence wrap around her, a moment to breathe amid the storm. Suddenly, a familiar voice broke the stillness. "You're stronger than you think, Claire." It was Elena Ramos, stepping out of the shadows with a gentle smile. They talked for hours, sharing fears, hopes, and the burdens of leadership. Elena's unwavering faith in their mission rekindled Claire's own. The emotional climax reached its peak when Claire received an unexpected visitor late one night, Victoria Crane. The rivalry that had simmered beneath the surface now erupted in a tense confrontation. Victoria's eyes burned with a mixture of envy and respect. "You're not the naive dreamer I thought you were," she said quietly. "Maybe there's more to this than I gave you credit for." The exchange was raw and honest, a collision of two fierce women shaped by ambition and struggle. It was a turning point, a moment of reckoning that reshaped their relationship and the trajectory of the project. As the chapter closed, Claire stood on the cusp of a new phase, battle-weary but unbroken, scarred but hopeful. The emotional climax had tested every fiber of her being, revealing the depths of her resilience and the power of human connection. The fight was far from over, but Claire knew one truth with unwavering clarity: no one expected what she would do next, and the world was about to find out. In the aftermath of the cyber attack and the intense confrontations that had defined the past weeks, Claire Mitchell found herself standing at a crossroads unlike any she had ever faced. The weight of the journey, from a hopeful entrepreneur to a key player inside the White House's most ambitious innovation initiative, settled over her with both pride and humility. The air inside the East Wing was calmer now, the frenetic pace giving way to a new rhythm shaped by lessons learned and hard-earned trust. Claire sat alone in a quiet conference room, the soft hum of the city outside blending with her thoughts. Her mind traced the path that had brought her here, the lonely nights of preparation, the sharp words from rivals, the moments of doubt and near defeat, and the surprising allies who had helped her rise. The faces of those who believed in her, Jake's steady support, Elena Ramos's fierce passion, even the grudging respect from Victoria Crane, flashed through her mind like a tapestry woven from struggle and hope. It was in these moments of solitude that Claire truly understood what she had gained beyond any contract or public accolade, a deeper sense of purpose and connection. The project she had poured her heart into was no longer just about technology, it was about the human spirit's capacity to overcome fear and division. As she prepared to address a gathering of government officials and stakeholders to present the project's progress and next steps, Claire felt the familiar mix of nerves and determination. Walking into the grand hall, she was greeted by nods of recognition and warm smiles, a far cry from the skeptical stares of just weeks before. When Claire took the podium, her voice was steady but filled with emotion. She spoke not only of solar panels and smart grids but of the sacrifices, the betrayals, and the breakthroughs that had defined their journey. Her words resonated deeply, reminding everyone that innovation was a human endeavor, full of imperfection but driven by hope. The audience responded with applause that lingered, a moment of collective acknowledgement of how far they had come together. After the presentation, Claire found herself approached by a reporter who asked the question she had come to expect: "What's the biggest lesson you've learned through all of this?" Claire paused, the weight of experience crystallizing in her mind. "That progress isn't just about ideas or technology," she said. "It's about resilience, trust, and the courage to keep going when everything feels against you. And most of all, it's about the people who stand with you, family, friends, even unexpected allies." Later that evening, Claire sat with Jake in a quiet corner of a small cafe, the soft glow of streetlights casting a warm light over their faces. They talked about the future, the challenges still ahead, the possibilities unfolding, and the life they wanted to build beyond the chaos of Washington. Jake reached across the table, taking Claire's hand in his. "You've changed," he said softly, "but you haven't lost who you are." Claire smiled, a tear slipping down her cheek. "I've learned that strength isn't about never breaking. It's about what you do after." The days that followed were a whirlwind of new opportunities. The government announced increased funding for the initiative, and Claire's company was invited to lead a national rollout of their solar-powered technology. Invitations to speak at conferences and universities poured in, and Claire became a symbol of innovation and determination. Yet, amidst the success, Claire remained grounded. She dedicated time to mentoring young entrepreneurs, sharing her story not just as a tale of triumph but as a lesson in perseverance and integrity. One afternoon, she visited a community center in her hometown, where children gathered around as she spoke about the power of dreams and hard work. Their bright eyes and eager questions reminded her of the girl she once was, full of hope and unafraid to imagine a better world. In those moments, Claire realized that the true impact of her journey extended far beyond government contracts or media headlines. It was about inspiring others to believe in themselves and the possibility of change. As the year drew to a close, Claire reflected on how much her life had transformed. The lonely nights and fierce battles had given way to a new sense of peace and purpose. She knew the road ahead would still hold challenges, but she was ready. The lessons she had learned, the value of trust, the power of resilience, and the importance of standing up for what mattered, would guide her every step. On the final page of her journal, Claire wrote, "Life is full of surprises, but love and determination will always lead the way." She closed the book with a smile, the echoes of her journey still humming in her heart. No one expected what Elon Musk did inside the White House, and no one expected what Claire Mitchell became because of it. But in the end, it wasn't about surprises or fame. It was about the quiet strength that comes from facing the unknown and choosing to keep moving forward, no matter what. And that was a story worth telling. Claire Mitchell was no longer the timid girl who had stepped into the White House. After a series of shocks and challenges, she decided to stand up, rallying all the allies she could find to save the project that was shaking under intense pressure. Claire's eyes were sharp, determination written clearly across her face. She began reaching out to experts in her team, lobbying support from young, forward-thinking lawmakers, and even the dedicated government staff who wanted real change. But the road ahead was full of obstacles. Long meetings stretched late into the night, the pressure from the media and opposition growing stronger by the day. There were times Claire felt exhausted, nearly crushed by a string of small setbacks, a delayed vote, a critical news article, or a controversial decision from higher-ups. Her emotions surged up and down like fierce waves, but each time, she found strength in her faith and the support of her team. Especially Elena Ramos, who stood by her side, fueling Claire with unwavering energy and belief. One day, Claire got a call from Jake, who remained her peaceful refuge. "You've got to remember, I believe you can do this. Don't let anyone make you back down." Those words sparked a fire in her heart during her loneliest moments. Step by step, Claire began seeing signs of progress. Some lawmakers changed their tune, the press started reporting more fairly, and community support grew louder. She knew the fight wasn't just about power, it was about persistence and integrity. Standing on stage at an important press conference, bright lights shining down on her face, Claire didn't feel fear. Instead, she looked straight into the cameras with fierce conviction, delivering a message that change cannot be stopped. "We cannot stand still when the future is calling," Claire said, her voice echoing through the room. "This project isn't just technology. It's a promise for a more sustainable world, for generations to come." Every word hit hard against those trying to maintain the status quo. And though many challenges lay ahead, Claire had found strength in the very obstacles she once feared would break her. Claire Mitchell's story was no longer just about a tech project or a career. It was the journey of a woman who learned to rise and fight for what she believed in, no matter what. No one expected she'd become such a fearless leader, and the world would never forget what she did next. The days that followed Claire's determined fight back were filled with unexpected shifts, subtle glances, and quiet whispers behind closed doors. What she hadn't anticipated was that allies would emerge from the most unlikely places, people who had been working silently in the shadows of the White House, observing, waiting for the right moment to step forward. One such figure was Daniel Reed, a mid-level policy advisor whose name rarely appeared in headlines but whose influence ran deeper than many realized. Claire first encountered Daniel during a late-night briefing, when exhaustion was dragging at her spirit. He approached her quietly, holding a thin folder of documents. "I've been following your work," he said softly. "There's more at stake here than just this project. I want to help." Claire looked at him, surprised but cautiously hopeful. Daniel was different from the vocal supporters and outspoken critics. He moved with a subtlety that suggested he understood the delicate balance of power within the corridors of government. Over the next weeks, Daniel became a crucial ally, guiding Claire through the labyrinth of political games and ethical dilemmas she had only begun to grasp. He introduced her to people in key committees, helped her navigate the murky waters of lobbying restrictions, and opened doors to conversations she never thought she'd have access to. As they worked together, Claire realized the stakes were far bigger than she had imagined. The project wasn't just about clean energy or innovation. It was entwined with national security, corporate interests, and a tug-of-war over the future direction of the country. The pressure weighed heavily on her, but Daniel's quiet confidence was a steadying force. One afternoon, while reviewing policy drafts, Claire asked, "How do you stay so calm with everything going on?" Daniel smiled faintly. "Because I know that real change doesn't come from shouting the loudest, but from knowing when to speak, and when to listen." This lesson settled deep in Claire's mind. The political landscape was not a battlefield to be won by force alone, but a complex web where every move mattered. Meanwhile, Claire's relationships within the White House began to shift. Some old opponents grew wary of Daniel's influence, casting suspicious glances. Meanwhile, Elena remained her fiercest defender, pushing Claire to stay true to her vision even when compromise seemed inevitable. The ethical stakes became increasingly clear as Claire was faced with difficult decisions, whether to accept funding from corporations with questionable records, how to balance transparency with political strategy, and how to protect the project's integrity without alienating crucial supporters. At one point, Claire was confronted by a senior official who warned, "You have to pick your battles, Claire. Not every truth is meant to be spoken." The weight of such words was almost suffocating, but Claire's resolve hardened. She realized that navigating the politics required more than passion, it demanded wisdom and patience. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Claire sat alone in the Oval Office, staring out at the Washington skyline glittering against the night. Daniel joined her quietly, and they spoke about the vision that had brought them there, the possibility of transforming energy, the hope of a better world. "It's easy to lose sight of that," Daniel admitted. "But every small victory counts." In that moment, Claire understood that she was part of something larger than herself, a movement that required both courage and subtlety, strength and grace. As news of Daniel's quiet support began to ripple through the staff, more unexpected allies emerged: a communications director who provided strategic advice, a security expert who uncovered attempts to sabotage the project, even a former skeptic who became a vocal advocate after witnessing Claire's dedication firsthand. These alliances built a fragile but growing network of support inside the White House, allowing Claire to face the mounting external pressures with renewed confidence. Yet the path was far from smooth. Claire faced setbacks, delayed approvals, renewed media attacks, and the ever-present threat of political maneuvering aimed at derailing the project. Each challenge tested her patience and commitment. Through it all, Daniel reminded her to stay focused on the bigger picture and to trust in the relationships they had built. One morning, as Claire prepared for a critical hearing before Congress, Daniel handed her a note with a simple message: "Remember why you started. The world is watching." Standing before the panel, Claire felt the weight of history on her shoulders but also the strength of her allies behind her. She spoke with clarity and passion, weaving the technical details with a moral urgency that caught even some skeptics off guard. The hearing ended with tentative approval to proceed, a small but significant victory that lifted the team's spirits. Later, as the team celebrated quietly, Claire caught a glimpse of Elon Musk watching from a distance. His usual enigmatic smile was softened by respect and encouragement. It was a reminder that their fight was far from over but that the bonds forged through struggle were unbreakable. That night, Claire journaled her thoughts. Allies come in many forms. Sometimes the greatest support is silent, unseen, but no less powerful. Understanding the bigger stakes means embracing complexity, and finding strength in those who stand beside you. As the chapter closed, Claire felt a profound shift within herself. She was no longer just a fighter on the front lines but a strategist and a leader ready to face the intricate challenges ahead. The unexpected allies she had found were not just helping her save a project, they were shaping the future of a nation. And in that realization lay both hope and responsibility. Late one night, after a long day filled with political battles and relentless pressure, Claire Mitchell sat alone in her dimly lit apartment, the glow of the city skyline painting shadows on the walls. Her phone buzzed, an unexpected call from her brother, Mark. They hadn't spoken in months, the silence between them growing thicker with time and unspoken grievances. With a deep breath, Claire answered. The voice on the other end was hesitant, strained. Claire, I know things have been rough. I just wanted to check in. The years of distance, the fights about family, career choices, and old wounds resurfaced. Mark spoke of feeling left behind, of the resentment that grew watching Claire chase a dream that seemed to pull her farther away from home. Claire felt the familiar sting of guilt and regret but also the stubborn fire that had driven her since she was young. The conversation was raw, emotional, with tears, anger, and finally understanding weaving through their words. Mark admitted his fears, that Claire's ambitions might cost her the family bonds they once cherished. Claire confessed her own doubts and loneliness, the price she had paid to stand where she was. But in the darkness of that phone call, a fragile bridge began to form. They found common ground in their love for each other and their hope for healing. This emotional breakthrough gave Claire new strength. She realized that her fight wasn't just for a project or a cause but for the people she cared about and the future she wanted to build with them. Renewed determination settled in her heart. The next morning, Claire returned to the White House with a clearer vision and a calmer spirit. She knew the battles ahead would be fierce, but she carried with her the power of reconciliation and the reminder that no victory was worth sacrificing family. This renewed energy was visible to those around her. Elena noticed the change, the way Claire's eyes shone with a quiet confidence, the steadiness in her voice during meetings. Even Daniel remarked on how Claire seemed more grounded, better able to navigate the political and personal storms swirling around her. As the national spotlight intensified on the Musk project, Claire found herself at the center of swirling media coverage and political intrigue. Reporters camped outside her office, politicians whispered behind closed doors, and public opinion swayed with every new headline. The pressure mounted, threatening to overwhelm her. Yet, in these moments, Claire drew strength from the emotional breakthrough with her brother. She refused to let the noise drown out her purpose. Every challenge was met with resilience, every criticism answered with integrity. The team rallied around her, inspired by her example. The technology demonstration day loomed ahead, a pivotal moment where everything had to go perfectly to prove the project's worth. Tension in the White House was palpable. Weeks of preparation culminated in a day filled with anticipation and nerves. As the demo unfolded, showing the innovative solar technology powering a series of government buildings, hope surged through the room. But disaster struck, an unexpected malfunction, later revealed as sabotage, threatened to unravel everything. Claire's quick thinking and calm under pressure saved the day. She coordinated with security experts, isolated the problem, and kept the demonstration moving. The audience, unaware of the crisis behind the scenes, witnessed a seamless success. The relief was immense, but Claire knew the battle was far from over. In the aftermath, Elon Musk shared a personal story about his own failures and setbacks, inspiring Claire and the team to hold on to hope amidst the tension. His words rekindled a fire within her, reminding her that failure was part of the path to innovation. However, the discovery that the sabotage was linked to a powerful political figure intensified the risks. Claire faced the difficult choice of exposing the truth publicly, knowing it would ignite a media frenzy and political storm. With courage and resolve, she decided transparency was the only way forward. The public revelation shocked the nation but also galvanized support for the project and for Claire herself. As the rival was exposed, Claire's respect and support grew both personally and professionally. This victory marked a turning point. At last, Claire found time to reconnect with her father and brother, mending old wounds and strengthening family bonds. The healing brought emotional peace and new motivation. The project was officially approved and launched, symbolizing hope and perseverance. Reflecting on her journey, Claire understood that life's surprises were inevitable, but love and determination would always guide the way. Her story became a testament to innovation, leadership, and resilience, inspiring a nation and leaving a lasting legacy. The tension inside the White House had reached a boiling point. Claire Mitchell could feel it every time she walked the corridors, whispers trailing behind her, urgent phone calls, the ever-present glare of the national spotlight. The Musk project had become more than just a technological breakthrough, it was now a political battleground, a lightning rod for controversy that divided opinion across the country. As news outlets ran headlines questioning the project's viability, ethical implications, and potential political motivations, the pressure mounted exponentially. Politicians from opposing parties seized the opportunity to attack, using the project as a wedge in broader ideological battles. Committee hearings grew more intense, with pointed questions designed to expose flaws or sow doubt. Claire found herself the target of scrutiny not only for the project but for every aspect of her personal and professional life. Every move was dissected, every decision questioned. The media frenzy was relentless. Reporters camped outside her office, eager for any hint of a scandal or misstep. Social media buzzed with conspiracy theories, partisan debates, and personal attacks. Claire's inbox flooded with messages, some supportive, many hostile. The psychological toll was immense. Yet amid this maelstrom, Claire stood firm, drawing on the inner reserves of strength she had cultivated over months of struggle. She understood that this was part of the battle, that public scrutiny was unavoidable when challenging entrenched systems and powerful interests. Her team rallied around her, providing a buffer and a source of encouragement. Elena, always by her side, handled media relations with skill and calm, countering misinformation and shaping narratives that emphasized the project's potential to transform the nation's energy future. Daniel continued to work behind the scenes, building alliances and neutralizing political threats with strategic finesse. Still, there were moments when Claire felt the weight crushing down. Late nights in the Oval Office, staring at the ceiling, she wrestled with doubts and fears. Could she withstand the pressure? Was the vision worth the personal cost? The answer came in unexpected ways. During one particularly heated hearing, Claire witnessed firsthand the complex interplay of ambition, ideology, and power. A senator known for his harsh rhetoric challenged her relentlessly, but when she responded with unwavering facts and heartfelt conviction, something shifted. The room grew quiet, and even some of her critics appeared moved. It was a reminder that truth and passion could cut through the noise. Outside, grassroots support began to swell. Citizens inspired by Claire's determination organized rallies and online campaigns, pushing back against the political attacks. Letters poured into the White House, voices rising in unison to demand progress. This groundswell gave Claire a renewed sense of purpose. The drama was far from over. Sabotage attempts continued in subtle ways, technical glitches, security breaches, and misinformation campaigns. Every day brought new challenges, but Claire faced them with increasing confidence. She learned to read the political currents, to anticipate moves before they happened, and to build resilience against setbacks. The Musk project was no longer just her fight, it had become a symbol of hope and change for many. As the national conversation intensified, Claire found herself at a crossroads. The choices she made now would shape not only the project's future but her own legacy. Would she succumb to the pressure, or rise above it? The answer lay in the strength she had discovered within herself, the determination to push forward, no matter the cost. In the eye of the storm, Claire stood tall, a beacon of courage in a world desperate for leadership and vision. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? The day of the big technology demonstration arrived with an electric charge that seemed to pulse through every hallway, every office, and every anxious heartbeat inside the White House. Claire Mitchell woke before dawn, her mind racing through every detail, every possible glitch, every step that had to be perfect. The Musk project wasn't just a test of cutting-edge solar technology, it was a pivotal moment, a chance to prove to skeptics and supporters alike that this innovation could change the future of America's energy landscape. As she entered the briefing room, the atmosphere was thick with tension and anticipation. Her team, a blend of brilliant engineers, policymakers, and communications experts, moved like a well-oiled machine, double-checking every connection, running last-minute diagnostics, and rehearsing their lines. Elena stood nearby, her calm demeanor grounding Claire amidst the chaos. "Remember, this is more than technology," Elena whispered. "It's hope. It's the future. Keep that in your mind." Claire nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Cameras were set up in every corner, reporters from national networks lined the press area, and government officials filled the audience seats. The stakes had never been higher. The demo began with Elon Musk himself stepping forward, his presence commanding the room. "What you're about to see," he said with his trademark mix of humility and confidence, "is the result of years of research, determination, and a vision for a cleaner, smarter America." As the presentation unfolded, Claire felt a surge of pride watching the technology perform flawlessly, solar panels adjusting in real time to capture the sun's energy, batteries storing power efficiently, and a network that promised to revolutionize energy distribution. But just as the demo reached its peak, an unexpected alert flashed on the control screen, a sudden drop in system voltage. The room stiffened. Engineers exchanged worried glances. Something was wrong. Claire's heart pounded. She moved swiftly to the control panel, calling out to the team. "Check the backup systems. Isolate the anomaly." The seconds dragged like hours. Every eye was on Claire as she coordinated a rapid response. Elena relayed calm instructions to the press, keeping panic at bay. Behind the scenes, it became clear that sabotage had struck, a deliberate interference threatening to derail the entire demonstration. Claire's mind raced, but she forced herself to stay focused. With quick thinking, she directed the team to reroute power through secondary channels, containing the damage. Slowly, the system stabilized. The demo resumed without further interruption, the audience none the wiser. When the presentation concluded to applause, Claire allowed herself a brief moment of relief before the battle resumed. Later, Elon pulled Claire aside. "I've been through failures like this more times than I can count," he said quietly. "It's how you respond that defines success." His words struck a chord deep within her. In that moment, Claire understood that setbacks were part of the journey, that resilience and adaptability were just as important as innovation. Yet, the sabotage hinted at a darker threat lurking within the political arena. Claire's determination only deepened. She vowed to uncover the source, protect the project, and see it through to fruition, no matter the cost. This day had tested everything she had learned, the courage to lead under fire, the strength to trust her team, and the resolve to fight for a future worth believing in. No one expected what Claire Mitchell would do next, but one thing was certain: she was just getting started. The successful technology demonstration had raised hopes and strengthened resolve, but behind the scenes, danger lurked like a shadow refusing to fade. Claire Mitchell knew that the sabotage was no accident, it was a calculated attack meant to stop the Musk project dead in its tracks. Despite the victory, the threat was far from over. In the days that followed, the atmosphere inside the White House grew tense and watchful, every team member alert to the slightest sign of trouble. The pressure to keep the momentum going was immense. Political opponents sharpened their knives, waiting for any opportunity to undermine Claire and Elon's vision. Media speculation swirled, some reporters praising the resilience after the sabotage, others digging for scandals or missteps. Claire moved with purpose, determined to shield the project and push forward, but the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on her shoulders. On the morning of a crucial follow-up demonstration, the tension was palpable. Engineers and security teams were on high alert, systems undergoing triple checks. Claire's phone buzzed continuously with updates, meetings, and urgent messages. Her team had no room for error, every detail mattered. As the demo commenced, initial readings were promising, the advanced solar technology operating as designed. The audience, including key government officials and investors, watched closely, some visibly impressed by the smooth operation. But then, without warning, alarms blared across the control room. Monitors flashed critical error messages. The system was failing. Claire's heart sank. Her mind raced to understand what was happening. Was this another act of sabotage? Or a catastrophic technical failure? Engineers scrambled to diagnose the problem, their faces tense with worry. Claire's voice cut through the chaos, steady but urgent: secure the system. Isolate the malfunction. Let's get backups online. Minutes felt like eternity. The room held its breath as Claire coordinated damage control. Suddenly, a technician shouted, "We found interference on the network, external hacking attempt." The revelation hit hard. The project was under cyber attack. Claire quickly convened with security experts. They traced the source of the hack to a sophisticated intrusion attempt, clearly designed to cripple the demo and discredit the project. The implications were chilling. Someone inside the government or connected political circles was willing to go to extreme lengths to sabotage progress. Despite the crisis, Claire's leadership shone. She remained calm, issuing clear instructions to contain the breach and restore system integrity. Working late into the night, the team managed to stabilize the technology, preventing a total collapse. The audience was never made aware of the near disaster. The demo concluded with cautious optimism, but Claire knew the cost was high. The attack had exposed vulnerabilities, not just in the technology, but in the political environment surrounding it. That evening, Elon Musk joined Claire in a quiet conference room. His usual confidence was tempered by concern. "This is bigger than we thought," he said. "We're not just fighting technical challenges. We're up against powerful forces resistant to change." Claire nodded, feeling the full weight of the battle ahead. She vowed to uncover the culprits behind the sabotage, to protect her team, and to keep the project alive no matter the risks. The following days saw an intensified investigation, with Daniel Reed coordinating discreet inquiries within the White House staff. As clues surfaced, Claire realized the stakes were not only technological but deeply political. Yet, amid the danger and uncertainty, a renewed sense of purpose took hold. Claire's resilience, inspired by Elon's candid reflections on failure and perseverance, fueled her determination to see the project through. She reached out to trusted allies, reinforcing security protocols and preparing for the inevitable public scrutiny that would follow if the sabotage became known. Despite setbacks, Claire's leadership kept the team focused and united. The crisis had tested their resolve but also forged stronger bonds. As the chapter closed, Claire reflected on the fragile balance between innovation and opposition, the fine line between progress and peril. She understood that success demanded more than technical brilliance. It required courage, integrity, and unwavering commitment in the face of adversity. No one expected what Claire would do next, but the nation was about to witness a fight that transcended technology, a battle for the future itself. The atmosphere in the White House was electric with tension and anticipation as Claire Mitchell prepared for the next phase of the Musk project. The sabotage attempt had shaken everyone to their core, but it also forged a newfound unity among the team. Claire felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, but she refused to let fear dictate her actions. She was determined to turn adversity into strength. Late one evening, after a long day of strategy meetings and security briefings, Elon Musk invited Claire into a quiet conference room away from the chaos. The soft hum of the city outside contrasted with the intensity of the moment. Elon's usually confident demeanor was replaced by a rare vulnerability as he began to speak. "Claire," he said, voice steady but sincere, "I want to share something with you. Something I don't often talk about." Claire leaned in, curious and attentive. "I've faced failure more times than I can count. From rockets that exploded on launch pads to electric cars that almost bankrupted my company. People doubted me, told me to quit. But every failure was a lesson, a stepping stone to where I am today." He paused, searching her eyes. When you're pushing the boundaries, setbacks aren't just inevitable, they're necessary. They test your resolve, show you what you're made of. Claire felt a swell of emotion. Here was a man who had seen the darkest lows and still dared to dream bigger. His story resonated deeply, reminding her that failure was not the end but part of the journey. That's why I believe in you, Elon continued. You've got the passion and the grit to see this through. When things get tough, remember that the greatest innovations come from those who refuse to give up. The words sparked a fire inside Claire. She realized that her fight was not just about technology or politics, it was about resilience, hope, and the courage to keep moving forward despite the odds. In the days that followed, Claire's renewed spirit inspired everyone around her. The team worked with renewed energy, doubling down on security measures and refining the technology. They knew the stakes were higher than ever, but they also knew they were not alone. As the national media spotlight intensified, Claire embraced the challenge. She engaged openly with journalists, sharing not only the project's potential but also the human story behind it, the setbacks, the struggles, and the unwavering determination to succeed. Public support began to grow, fueled by stories of perseverance and innovation. Social media buzzed with messages of encouragement, rallies were organized, and grassroots advocates emerged to champion the project. Yet, beneath the surface, the political battle continued. Claire discovered unsettling truths about the sabotage, its ties to powerful figures who feared the project's implications. The risk to her career, her safety, and the future of the initiative was real and immediate. Despite the mounting dangers, Claire's emotional climax marked a turning point. She faced her fears head-on, bolstered by Elon's example and the strength of her team. Her resolve hardened, and her leadership deepened. This was no longer just a project, it was a movement. A fight for innovation, integrity, and the promise of a better tomorrow. No one expected what Claire would do next, but her story had already become a beacon of hope and courage in a time when both were desperately needed. The weeks following the emotional turning point marked by Elon Musk's candid revelation were some of the most intense Claire Mitchell had ever experienced. The project was progressing despite the constant barrage of political opposition, media scrutiny, and the ever-looming threat of sabotage. Claire had learned to navigate the storm with a calm she hadn't known she possessed, but the deeper she dug into the sabotage, the more tangled and dangerous the web became. One evening, after a long day of meetings and briefings, Claire sat in her office, sifting through reports and intercepted communications Daniel Reed had gathered. The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fit together, but the picture they formed was chilling. The sabotage wasn't just the act of fringe dissenters or rival companies, it was orchestrated by someone with deep influence inside the political system. The evidence pointed to a figure whose name sent a cold shiver down Claire's spine, a high-ranking official within the administration, someone who wielded power behind closed doors and who had everything to lose if the Musk project succeeded. This revelation transformed the stakes of the fight from a battle over technology to a confrontation with entrenched political corruption. Claire's mind raced as she considered the implications. Exposing this person would be explosive, shaking the foundations of the administration and possibly jeopardizing the project. Yet, staying silent meant allowing sabotage to continue unchecked. The dilemma tore at her, forcing her to weigh personal safety against public good, ambition against integrity. Her team gathered the next morning. She laid out the findings, the gravity clear in her voice. "This isn't just sabotage," she said. "It's a coordinated effort from someone with power, someone who fears what this project means for their interests." The room was silent, the weight of the truth settling heavily. Elena, ever the strategist, spoke first. "If we go public with this, we risk everything, the project, our credibility, maybe even our lives. But if we don't, this corruption wins." Claire nodded. "We need to be smart. We need evidence that can't be ignored, and we need allies. People who can protect us and help us bring this to light." Over the following days, the team worked discreetly, gathering proof while building alliances with sympathetic politicians, journalists, and whistleblowers. Trust was fragile, and paranoia loomed. Claire knew they were walking a dangerous line. Meanwhile, the political pressures intensified. Rumors swirled in the media, fueled by leaks and counter-leaks. The rival factions within the administration grew bolder, using the scandal to their advantage. Claire found herself caught in a complex game of chess, where every move was scrutinized, and the consequences were severe. Yet, through it all, Claire's resolve never wavered. The lessons she had learned, from her own struggles to Elon's stories of failure and resilience, gave her the strength to face the danger head-on. One night, as Claire reviewed documents late into the evening, her phone buzzed with an anonymous tip. The message was brief but clear. "Meet me at the Lincoln Memorial at midnight. I have information that will change everything. Come alone." The choice was terrifying. Was it a trap? Could she trust this stranger? But Claire knew that to fight corruption, she had to take risks. She decided to go. Under the cloak of darkness, Claire arrived at the Lincoln Memorial, the majestic pillars looming like silent witnesses to her courage. A figure emerged from the shadows, a White House staffer known for his discreet loyalty and integrity. He handed her a file containing documents, recordings, and insider testimonies that implicated the high-ranking official in the sabotage. "This is what you need," he whispered. "Be careful. They're watching." Claire's heart pounded as she clutched the evidence. The stakes had never been higher, but so had her determination. Back at the White House, she gathered her core team. "This changes everything," she said. "We have what we need to expose the truth. But we have to be smart and strategic. One wrong move, and it could all come crashing down." The chapter closed with Claire standing at the precipice of a monumental decision, whether to unleash the evidence and risk everything or find another way to protect the project and those she cared about. No one expected what Claire would do next, but the country was about to witness a battle not just for innovation, but for justice itself. The evidence Claire Mitchell held in her hands was more than just documents and recordings. It was a key to exposing a conspiracy that threatened to derail the Musk project and undermine public trust in the administration. The stakes had never been higher. Claire understood that going public with this information could ignite a media firestorm, trigger political upheaval, and potentially put her and her team in danger. Yet, remaining silent was no longer an option. The fight for the future of energy, and for integrity itself, demanded transparency. Claire convened a private meeting with her most trusted allies, Elena, Daniel Reed, and a few select members of the engineering team who had shown unwavering loyalty. The mood was grave but resolute. She laid out the plan. "We need to release this evidence in a way that cannot be ignored or suppressed," she said. "We'll coordinate with independent journalists and advocacy groups who can amplify the story beyond the reach of political interference." Daniel nodded, tapping into his network of contacts in investigative journalism. Elena, drawing on her experience with political strategy, emphasized the importance of timing and framing. Claire knew they had to prepare for the backlash. They would be attacked, questioned, and vilified by those whose power was threatened. The days that followed were a whirlwind of preparation. Claire balanced the technical demands of the project with the logistics of the impending revelation. The team enhanced security protocols, readying for potential retaliations. Meanwhile, Claire composed a statement, balancing transparency with prudence, making clear that the sabotage was not an isolated incident but part of a broader effort to stifle innovation. On the morning of the public release, the atmosphere inside the White House was electric. News outlets caught wind of the impending announcement, political operatives scrambled to manage damage control, and social media buzzed with speculation. Claire stood before a crowd of reporters, the weight of history pressing down but her voice steady and clear. "We have uncovered evidence that sabotage of the Musk solar project was orchestrated by a high-ranking official within the government," she announced. "This act threatens not only the future of clean energy innovation but the very principles of transparency and democracy we hold dear. We are committed to ensuring the truth is revealed and justice is served." The response was immediate and explosive. Headlines blared across newspapers and digital platforms. Twitter exploded with hashtags supporting Claire and demanding accountability. Political factions erupted in debate, some called for investigations, others attempted to discredit the evidence and the whistleblowers. Despite the chaos, public opinion began to shift in Claire's favor. Citizens rallied behind the project, inspired by her courage and determination. Grassroots campaigns sprang up, pushing for reforms and greater protections for innovators and whistleblowers. Inside the White House, the fallout was swift. The implicated official was placed under investigation, their influence waning as pressure mounted. Allies of the project gained ground, and the political landscape began to shift. Yet, amid the triumph, Claire remained vigilant. She knew this victory was fragile and that the road ahead still held challenges. The project required continued support, funding, and the cooperation of a fractured government. In quiet moments, Claire reflected on how far she had come, from a hopeful engineer to a leader at the center of a national reckoning. The journey had tested her in every way, emotionally, professionally, and ethically. But the lessons of resilience, integrity, and hope guided her still. The chapter closed on a note of cautious optimism. The project was no longer just a technological breakthrough, it had become a symbol of perseverance and the power of truth to challenge corruption. No one expected what Claire would do next, but the nation had begun to see her not only as a visionary but as a guardian of the future. The public revelation sent shockwaves through Washington, D.C. and across the nation. Claire Mitchell's courageous decision to expose the high-ranking official behind the sabotage had set off a cascade of events that neither she nor anyone else could have fully anticipated. The media frenzy, political investigations, and public rallies all blended into a heady mix of tension and hope. Claire felt the pressure mounting with every passing day, but beneath the storm, a new sense of momentum was building, one that promised a resolution to the turmoil and a chance to finally see the Musk project through to success. The investigation into the implicated official intensified, with bipartisan committees convening to examine the evidence Claire and her team had provided. The accused, once a figure of immense power, found themselves isolated and vulnerable as their supporters quietly abandoned them. Claire watched the political chess game unfold with a mix of relief and caution. The enemy was weakening, but the battle was far from over. Inside the White House, the atmosphere shifted. Allies who had been hesitant now openly expressed support for the project, recognizing the public's overwhelming demand for innovation and transparency. Funding that had been stalled for months was released, and logistical barriers began to fall away. The engineering team, once operating under the cloud of uncertainty, was now energized by the clear path forward. Claire's role evolved rapidly, from project manager to a public figurehead and symbol of perseverance. She was invited to speak at conferences, universities, and public forums, where her story of determination resonated deeply with audiences. Yet, despite the accolades, she remained grounded, focused on the work that still lay ahead. One afternoon, Claire received an unexpected visit from a senior senator who had long been skeptical of the Musk project. The senator, a seasoned politician known for pragmatism, extended a hand of support. "Your courage has changed minds," he said. "We need leaders like you to push us forward." That moment crystallized Claire's belief that change was possible, not just in technology but in the political landscape. It also reaffirmed her commitment to transparency and collaboration, values that would be crucial as the project moved toward final approval and implementation. But the resolution was not only political, it was personal. Claire's journey had been marked by fractures in her own life, estranged family relationships and moments of self-doubt. Now, with the project nearing fruition, she found herself confronting these challenges head-on. A call from her brother, Daniel, broke the silence one evening. The conversation was tentative at first, but as they spoke, old wounds began to heal. Daniel expressed pride in Claire's achievements and offered support. It was a small but significant step toward reconciliation, one that gave Claire renewed strength. The project's final review board convened amid intense scrutiny. Claire presented the team's work with clarity and passion, addressing concerns and demonstrating the technology's viability and transformative potential. The board's approval was unanimous, signaling a triumphant milestone. As the chapter drew to a close, Claire stood before a crowd gathered for the official announcement of the project's green light. The cheers and applause were a testament to years of struggle, sacrifice, and unwavering resolve. She felt a profound mix of relief and anticipation, knowing that this was just the beginning of a new chapter, not only for the technology but for herself and the nation. No one expected what Claire would do next, but the world was watching as a new era of innovation and leadership unfolded, led by a woman who refused to be silenced. After the official approval of the Musk project, Claire Mitchell found herself standing at a crossroads, not just professionally, but deeply personally. The victory had brought relief and recognition, yet beneath the surface, unresolved family tensions tugged at her heart. The long months of dedication to the project had left little room for healing the fractures with her father and brother, relationships strained by past disappointments and misunderstandings. Now, with the project's future secured, Claire knew it was time to face those wounds. Her phone buzzed one late afternoon, a message from her father, Mark, a simple, "Can we talk?" accompanied by an emoticon that was both hopeful and tentative. Claire's heart skipped. The last time they had spoken, the conversation ended in frustration, years ago before her move to Washington. But she felt a cautious optimism, a readiness to bridge the gap. They agreed to meet at a quiet cafe near her childhood home. The setting was familiar, cozy tables, the smell of fresh coffee, a place where memories lingered. As they sat down, the initial awkwardness gave way to a tentative exchange about everyday matters, slowly peeling back layers of silence that had accumulated over the years. Mark's voice was soft but earnest as he finally said, "I've watched from a distance, Claire. I'm proud of what you've accomplished. Maybe I didn't say it enough before." Tears welled up in Claire's eyes, not from anger, but from a release she hadn't expected. "I needed to hear that," she replied. "There's a lot we didn't say, a lot I didn't understand about you and myself." They spoke for hours, sharing stories, regrets, and hopes. The barriers of past misunderstandings began to dissolve, replaced by a fragile but growing trust. Claire realized that healing was not about erasing the past but about acknowledging it and choosing to move forward together. The next step was reconnecting with her brother, Daniel. Their relationship had always been complex, a mix of sibling rivalry and deep affection. A late-night phone call marked the turning point. Daniel's voice, tinged with vulnerability, admitted his own struggles and his admiration for Claire's strength. The conversation stretched into the early hours, weaving through memories and future dreams. With family bonds rekindled, Claire felt a renewed sense of wholeness that strengthened her resolve. The personal reconciliation gave her the emotional foundation she needed to lead the project through its next phase. Meanwhile, the Musk project continued to gain momentum. Claire balanced the demands of leadership with her personal growth, often reflecting on how far she had come, from a young engineer overwhelmed by obstacles to a woman capable of confronting challenges both external and internal. Her team noticed the change too. Claire's empathy deepened, and her ability to inspire and connect grew stronger. Meetings were more collaborative, decisions more inclusive. The project thrived not only because of cutting-edge technology but because of the human spirit driving it. One afternoon, Claire received a letter from Elon Musk himself, expressing admiration for her leadership and resilience. It was a reminder that even the most visionary innovators faced hardships. And that perseverance was the key to lasting success. As the chapter closed, Claire stood overlooking the city skyline from her office window. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow that felt like a promise. She knew the journey was far from over, but with her family by her side and the project on the cusp of transformation, she was ready for whatever came next. No one expected what Claire would do next, but the path ahead was illuminated by hope, healing, and the power of connection. The air inside the White House Innovation Lab was thick with anticipation as Claire Mitchell and her team prepared for the launch of the Musk solar energy project. Months of relentless work, sleepless nights, and countless obstacles had brought them to this critical moment. The groundbreaking technology that promised to revolutionize the nation's energy future was ready to be unveiled, and Claire could feel the weight of history pressing on her shoulders. This was more than just a project. It was a symbol of hope, resilience, and the power of perseverance. In the days leading up to the launch, every detail was scrutinized. Engineers fine-tuned the solar arrays, security teams tightened protocols, and communications experts crafted messages to engage the public and stakeholders. Claire moved seamlessly between these worlds, balancing technical challenges with the demands of leadership. Despite the pressure, a quiet confidence had settled over her, a sense that all the struggle was converging towards something truly monumental. On launch day, the White House grounds were buzzing with media, dignitaries, and supporters. The national spotlight was intense, cameras flashed and reporters sought every angle of the story. Claire knew that the eyes of the country, and the world, were on her and the project. Yet, amid the chaos, she found a moment of calm. Standing backstage, she took a deep breath and recalled the journey that had led her here, the betrayals, the setbacks, the family reconciliations, and Elon Musk's words about resilience. As the ceremony began, Claire stepped to the podium. Her voice was steady and clear as she addressed the crowd. Today marks not just the launch of a new technology, but the dawn of a new era, she said. An era where innovation and determination overcome fear and resistance, where clean energy powers our future, and where hope leads the way. The crowd erupted in applause. Behind her, the solar arrays gleamed under the sun, ready to begin their work. Engineers initiated the startup sequence, and a wave of energy flowed through the system. The demonstration was flawless, a testament to the team's dedication and Claire's leadership. As the project went live, Claire saw the faces of her team, tired but triumphant. The months of struggle had forged a bond stronger than any technical challenge. She felt a surge of pride, knowing they had not only created something revolutionary but had done so with integrity and heart. The launch received widespread acclaim. News outlets hailed it as a pivotal moment in energy innovation. Public enthusiasm soared, with citizens expressing renewed hope for a sustainable future. Claire became a household name, admired for her courage and vision. Yet, for Claire, the true victory was personal. The success symbolized not just professional achievement but the culmination of a journey marked by growth, reconciliation, and unwavering resolve. It was proof that even in the face of daunting odds, one person's determination could ignite change. In the weeks following the launch, Claire continued to advocate for clean energy policies and innovation. She collaborated with lawmakers, educators, and industry leaders to ensure the project's long-term success and to inspire the next generation of innovators. At home, her relationships with her family blossomed. Shared dinners, heartfelt conversations, and mutual support filled the spaces that had once been silent. Claire cherished these moments, understanding that her strength was deeply rooted in the love and connection of those closest to her. Reflecting on her journey, Claire realized that the triumph was not just in the technology but in the resilience of the human spirit. The path had been fraught with challenges, but every obstacle had been an opportunity to grow, learn, and persevere. As the sun set over Washington, Claire stood once more at the window of her office, looking out over a city and a nation poised for transformation. She felt a profound sense of peace and purpose, knowing that the journey ahead, while uncertain, was full of possibility. No one expected what Claire would do next, but her story had become a beacon of hope, a testament to what could be achieved when courage met conviction. The days following the successful launch of the Musk solar energy project felt surreal to Claire Mitchell. The project had not only been approved and implemented, but it was already making waves across the country, sparking conversations about renewable energy, innovation, and the future of America's infrastructure. Yet, beyond the headlines and accolades, Claire found herself retreating to moments of quiet reflection, contemplating the journey that had brought her here, the sacrifices, the battles, and the unexpected allies who had helped shape her path. In the early morning light, Claire sat by her window overlooking the Washington skyline. The city was waking up, its streets buzzing with life and possibility. She thought back to the dark days when sabotage threatened to crush the project and when family conflicts weighed heavily on her heart. Those times had tested her in ways she hadn't imagined, but they had also forged a resilience she now understood was her greatest strength. Claire's mind wandered to Elon Musk, whose personal story of failures and perseverance had inspired her during moments of doubt. His candidness about his own struggles reminded her that no journey worth taking was ever free from hardship. It was the way one faced those hardships, with courage and an unyielding belief in the cause, that defined success. She remembered the late-night phone calls with her brother, Daniel, where vulnerable conversations helped heal old wounds. The reconciliation with her father, Mark, whose quiet pride had been a balm to her weary spirit. These personal victories were as meaningful as any professional milestone. As the project gained national momentum, Claire found herself increasingly drawn to mentorship and advocacy. She began speaking at universities and innovation forums, sharing not just technical insights but the emotional truths behind the work. She encouraged young women and aspiring engineers to embrace their challenges and to never underestimate the power of perseverance. The political landscape around the project was evolving too. Legislators introduced new bills to support renewable energy and protect innovators from sabotage and undue political interference. The ripple effects of Claire's battle were reaching far beyond the lab, influencing policy and public perception. Despite the success, Claire remained grounded. She understood that innovation was an ongoing process, one that required humility, collaboration, and continual learning. The Musk project was a milestone, but the journey toward a sustainable future was just beginning. One afternoon, as Claire walked through the White House gardens, she reflected on the nature of leadership. It wasn't about titles or accolades, she realized, but about the willingness to face uncertainty, to take risks, and to stand up for what mattered, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. Her phone buzzed with a message from Elena, her closest colleague and friend. "Coffee tomorrow? I want to hear about your next big idea." Claire smiled, feeling a surge of excitement. The future was full of possibilities, and she was ready to embrace them all. Before the chapter closed, Claire sat down to write a letter, not just to herself but to anyone who might one day face a daunting challenge. "Life is full of surprises," she wrote, "but love will always lead the way. It's the connections we nurture, the courage we muster, and the hope we hold on to that transform dreams into reality." Her story, once fraught with uncertainty and struggle, had become a beacon of hope and inspiration. Claire knew that while no one expected what she had done inside the White House, her journey was far from over. The path ahead would have new challenges, but with love, resilience, and unwavering determination, she was ready to meet them head-on. As the sun set on this chapter of her life, Claire felt a profound sense of peace and purpose. The triumph was not only in what she had built but in who she had become. And that, she knew, was the greatest victory of all. As the final rays of sunlight cast a golden hue over the White House lawn, Claire Mitchell found herself standing in the quiet solitude of her office, reflecting on the extraordinary journey that had brought her to this moment. The launch of the Musk solar energy project had not only transformed the nation's energy landscape but also reshaped her own life in ways she never could have imagined. What began as a daunting challenge fraught with betrayal, political intrigue, and personal sacrifice had blossomed into a story of resilience, hope, and profound transformation. Claire thought back to the opening days, when uncertainty clouded every step. The sabotage, the media storms, the late nights spent navigating family conflicts, it all seemed like a distant storm now. Yet, those moments had been the crucible that forged her strength. Each setback, each heartbreak, had carved a deeper resolve within her, shaping her not just as a leader, but as a person. She remembered Elon Musk's candid words during their darkest hours: "Failure is the best teacher. Every time you fall, you learn, you grow, and you get closer to success." Those words echoed in her mind as a testament to the power of perseverance. Claire realized that true innovation was never about avoiding failure but about embracing it as part of the journey. Her mind drifted to her family, her father Mark, who had opened his heart after years of silence, and her brother Daniel, whose renewed support had become a pillar of strength. Their reconciliation had been as vital as the project itself, grounding her in the love that sustained her through every trial. Claire understood now that success was not just measured by milestones or headlines but by the bonds we nurture along the way. The nation had watched closely as the project unfolded, its ripples reaching far beyond the halls of government and innovation labs. New policies supporting clean energy emerged, and a renewed public enthusiasm for sustainability blossomed. Claire's story became a symbol, a beacon for dreamers, innovators, and leaders striving to make a difference. In her role as a mentor and advocate, Claire found fulfillment in empowering others. She shared her experiences with young engineers and students, urging them to embrace challenges, to stand firm in the face of opposition, and to never lose sight of their vision. Her message was clear: life will surprise you. Sometimes with hardship, sometimes with joy. But love is the compass that will always lead you home. Experts in innovation and leadership hailed the project as a case study in resilience and ethical leadership. Dr. Angela Reynolds, a renowned thought leader in technology and society, remarked, "Claire Mitchell's journey exemplifies the courage and integrity required to lead transformative change." Her ability to navigate political complexity while staying true to her values offers invaluable lessons for leaders worldwide. As Claire prepared to close this chapter of her life, she penned a final reflection, sharing a profound lesson learned from her journey. Innovation is more than technology. It's about people, our connections, our courage, and our capacity to love and forgive. When we lead with heart and resilience, we can overcome any obstacle and create a future worth believing in. Her story ended with a powerful reminder: no matter the challenges, no matter the unexpected twists, love and determination will always light the way forward. As she looked out over the city lights shimmering in the twilight, Claire felt a deep sense of peace and purpose. The road ahead was unknown, but she was ready to inspire, to lead, and to embrace whatever life had in store. No one expected what Claire would do inside the White House. But through her courage and heart, she had shown the world that even the most daunting battles can be won, and that true leadership is born from resilience, love, and unwavering hope. After the triumphant launch of the Musk solar energy project and the waves of acclaim that followed, Claire Mitchell found herself standing at the edge of a new frontier, not just in her career, but in her life. The nation had watched her navigate storms of political intrigue, sabotage, and personal struggle, only to emerge stronger and more determined. Yet, as the celebrations faded and the initial spotlight dimmed, Claire knew her journey was far from over. If anything, this moment was the beginning of a much larger mission. The world of innovation was evolving faster than ever, and with the success of the solar project, the expectations placed on Claire had skyrocketed. Invitations poured in. From international summits on climate change to secretive think tanks shaping the future of technology. But amid the excitement, Claire remained grounded, aware that true progress demanded patience, collaboration, and an unshakable ethical compass. One crisp morning in early fall, Claire sat in a quiet conference room within the White House, joined by a diverse group of policymakers, scientists, and activists. The agenda was ambitious: to chart a roadmap for integrating renewable energy technologies into every facet of American life, from urban centers to rural communities. The room buzzed with ideas, debates, and the occasional tension, hallmarks of a democracy striving to balance innovation with equity. Claire listened intently as voices rose and fell, each participant bringing passion and expertise. She understood the stakes. This was no longer just about technology or politics, it was about shaping the legacy of a generation. The success of her project had opened doors, but it also spotlighted the deep divides, economic, social, and ideological, that complicated the path forward. As discussions progressed, Claire felt a familiar challenge stir within her. Leading meant more than directing projects, it meant bridging divides and inspiring shared vision. Drawing on the lessons from her personal journey, she encouraged the group to look beyond their differences. "Our future depends on our ability to listen and learn from each other," she said. "Innovation thrives in spaces where diverse voices come together with respect and purpose." Her words resonated. Slowly, the room's energy shifted from contention to collaboration. Committees formed to tackle pressing issues: access to clean energy in underserved areas, workforce retraining for displaced workers, and transparent governance models to ensure accountability. Claire was named chair of the newly formed National Renewable Energy Coalition, a role that would thrust her further into the public eye and challenge her leadership in unprecedented ways. Outside the conference room, life continued to weave its complex tapestry. Claire's family, now a source of strength and joy, remained her anchor. Weekend visits to her parents' home became a cherished ritual, filled with laughter, shared meals, and stories that reminded her of the importance of roots even as she reached for the sky. Her relationship with Daniel blossomed into a partnership of mutual support, with both siblings finding new ways to uplift each other's dreams. Yet, the demands of leadership weighed heavily. The media's scrutiny intensified, with critics eager to dissect every decision. Political opponents sought to undermine the coalition's work, framing it as elitist or impractical. Social media amplified both support and backlash, creating a whirlwind of public opinion that was exhausting to navigate. Claire found solace in her trusted circle: Elena, her closest colleague; Dr. Ramirez, a wise advisor who reminded her to care for her own well-being, and occasional moments of solitude where she could reconnect with her purpose. Meditation, early morning runs, and journaling became rituals to maintain balance. One evening, as she reviewed a draft of the coalition's strategic plan, Claire received a call that would test her resilience anew. The caller was a representative from a major energy conglomerate, a company known for its fossil fuel dominance. The message was clear, subtle warnings veiled as offers of cooperation. "There are powerful interests unsettled by your work, Claire. It's time to consider the costs of this fight." Her heart raced, but she remained composed. This was the reality she had stepped into, a world where progress came with resistance, where every step forward might provoke powerful opposition. But retreat was not an option. Claire's vision was bigger than fear. The next days were a whirlwind of security briefings, intensified media coverage, and strategic meetings. Claire fortified her team, strengthened alliances, and doubled down on transparency. She understood that in this high-stakes game, integrity was her most valuable asset. Publicly, Claire addressed the concerns head-on during a nationally televised town hall. "Change is never easy," she said, her voice steady and passionate. "There will be challenges, resistance, and setbacks. But we owe it to ourselves, to future generations, to stand firm in our commitment to a sustainable, just, and prosperous future." The response was overwhelming. Messages of support flooded in from all corners of the country. Citizens, activists, educators, and even unlikely allies rallied around the coalition's mission. Claire felt renewed energy, a powerful reminder that leadership was not a solitary endeavor but a collective movement. As the months unfolded, the coalition made tangible progress. Pilot programs launched in struggling communities, creating jobs and lowering energy costs. Educational initiatives inspired young minds to pursue careers in clean energy. Policies enacted at federal and state levels reflected a growing consensus that a green future was both necessary and achievable. Through it all, Claire grew not just as a leader but as a person. She embraced vulnerability as a strength, acknowledging mistakes and learning openly. She championed inclusivity, ensuring marginalized voices shaped the coalition's direction. And she never lost sight of the human stories behind the statistics. The families empowered, the environments healed, the dreams realized. Late one afternoon, as autumn leaves swirled outside her window, Claire received a letter from a young woman named Maya, a college student inspired by Claire's journey. Maya wrote about her own struggles with doubt and adversity, expressing gratitude for Claire's example of courage and perseverance. Reading the letter, Claire felt a profound connection across generations, a passing of the torch that filled her with hope. Looking ahead, Claire knew the road remained long and uncertain. New technologies would emerge, political tides would shift, and challenges would evolve. But she was ready, armed with the lessons of her past, the strength of her convictions, and the unwavering support of those who believed in the possibility of a better world. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the nation she served, Claire whispered a quiet vow. To keep pushing beyond the limits, to inspire and be inspired, and to lead with heart, because the future was not just a destination, but a journey shaped by every courageous step taken beyond the horizon. The morning sun broke through the blinds of Claire Mitchell's office with a gentle golden glow, casting long shadows across the polished wooden desk that bore the marks of countless meetings, late-night work sessions, and bursts of inspiration. Claire sat quietly, savoring a rare moment of stillness before the day's whirlwind began. The National Renewable Energy Coalition's work had expanded beyond anything she dreamed possible, rippling through communities, politics, and industries. But now, she faced a new challenge, one that demanded more than innovation or strategy. It required heart, vision, and courage on an unprecedented scale. As she reviewed the latest reports, Claire's mind drifted to the roots of her journey, the early struggles, the battles with sabotage, the late-night calls with family, the unwavering support of Elon Musk, and the unexpected allies who had become her pillars. Those memories fueled her determination, reminding her that the road to change was paved with setbacks and breakthroughs alike. Today's agenda was daunting. The coalition was preparing for a landmark summit bringing together global leaders, scientists, and activists to solidify a historic pact on renewable energy commitments. The stakes were enormous. Political tensions simmered beneath the surface, and dissenting voices threatened to unravel months of painstaking diplomacy. Claire knew that the world was watching, and waiting, for a sign that cooperation and hope could prevail. The conference room buzzed with anticipation as delegates from around the world gathered, representing a mosaic of cultures, ideologies, and ambitions. Claire welcomed them with a steady voice, aware that her role extended beyond organizing. It was about inspiring unity in a fractured world. This moment is ours to shape, she declared. Together, we can ignite a global movement fueled by innovation, compassion, and shared responsibility. The discussions were intense and sometimes contentious. Delegates debated resource allocation, economic impacts, and technological priorities with passion and urgency. But amidst the tension, Claire fostered a space where dialogue transcended division. Drawing on her years of experience navigating political and personal challenges, she encouraged empathy and collaboration. Every voice matters, she reminded them. Our strength lies in our diversity and our commitment to a better future for all. Outside the summit, media outlets buzzed with coverage, spotlighting Claire's leadership and the coalition's progress. But with visibility came criticism. Some powerful interests sought to undermine the pact, painting it as idealistic or economically risky. Claire faced these challenges head-on, refusing to back down or compromise her values. Her message was clear: sustainability and equity were not opposing forces, they were intertwined imperatives. Back home, the support from Claire's family and friends remained her sanctuary. Her father's quiet pride, her brother's unwavering encouragement, and Elena's steadfast partnership grounded her through every trial. In moments of exhaustion, Claire found strength in their presence, reminding her that leadership was a shared journey, not a solitary burden. One evening, as the summit's final day approached, Claire took a solitary walk through the city's historic district, the air crisp and filled with the scent of autumn leaves. The streets echoed with the footsteps of countless generations who had shaped the nation's destiny. Claire felt a deep connection to that legacy. A sense of purpose that transcended her own ambitions. In a quiet park, she paused beneath a towering oak tree, its branches reaching skyward like a symbol of growth and resilience. Closing her eyes, Claire reflected on the path ahead. The summit's outcome would ripple far beyond this moment, influencing policy, innovation, and the lives of millions. But she also knew that true change required patience, humility, and the courage to embrace uncertainty. Returning to the summit hall, Claire delivered her closing address with heartfelt conviction. She spoke not only of technology and policy but of shared humanity, the dreams that united them and the responsibility they bore to future generations. This is our new dawn, she declared. A dawn where hope fuels action, and courage lights the way. The delegates rose in applause, their faces reflecting a mixture of determination and inspiration. The historic pact was signed, a testament to what could be achieved when vision and resolve converged. As cameras flashed and reporters clamored for soundbites, Claire felt a quiet satisfaction, not from the spotlight, but from the knowledge that a seed had been planted for a more sustainable, equitable world. In the days that followed, Claire continued her work with renewed vigor, aware that every victory was just the beginning of the next challenge. She championed initiatives to empower communities, foster innovation, and hold leaders accountable. Her story inspired countless others to take up the mantle of change, proving that one person's courage could spark a movement. Late at night, Claire often returned to her journal, capturing thoughts, lessons, and hopes. She wrote of the power of perseverance, the importance of love and connection, and the enduring strength found in embracing vulnerability. Her journey had taught her that true leadership was not about control, but about service, to people, to planet, and to principles. As the chapter closed on this phase of her life, Claire looked ahead with a heart full of hope and eyes fixed firmly on the horizon. The dawn had come, but the journey continued, an endless quest to build a future worthy of dreams, guided by the belief that love and resilience would always lead the way. Months after the historic Renewable Energy Summit, Claire Mitchell found herself reflecting on how far the movement had come, and how much farther it still needed to go. The pact signed that day wasn't just a document, it was a symbol, a beacon that had ignited conversations in boardrooms, classrooms, and dinner tables across the country and beyond. Yet, change was rarely instantaneous or linear. Claire understood better than anyone that true transformation was a ripple effect, moving through time and space in unpredictable waves. Her days were a whirlwind of travel, meetings, and speaking engagements, each designed to bolster the coalition's initiatives and nurture new partnerships. From the sun-soaked campuses of California to the snow-covered streets of Boston, Claire shared her story and vision, urging communities to harness local strengths while embracing global responsibility. The diversity she encountered was both humbling and inspiring, a reminder that the future belonged to those willing to listen and learn. In a small rural town in the Midwest, Claire visited a community center where local leaders had launched a pilot solar project funded by the coalition. The smiles of children playing under bright new streetlights powered by clean energy filled her with hope. She met farmers adapting their practices to sustainability and teachers integrating environmental education into their curriculum. These grassroots successes were the heart of the movement. Proof that innovation flourished best when rooted in everyday lives. Back in Washington, Claire faced new political challenges as debates over infrastructure funding and regulatory frameworks intensified. Opposition from entrenched interests grew more vocal, attempting to stall progress with misinformation and legislative roadblocks. But Claire's coalition remained resilient, bolstered by a growing network of advocates, scientists, and citizens demanding accountability and transparency. One particularly heated congressional hearing tested Claire's resolve. Facing tough questions and veiled accusations, she responded with clarity and calm, emphasizing facts and shared values. Her testimony was a turning point, shifting some skeptics toward support and reinforcing the coalition's credibility. Journalists praised her composure, calling her a steady hand in turbulent times. Throughout it all, Claire's personal life remained a source of grounding. Her father's health had begun to decline, prompting her to spend more time with him and her brother Daniel. Family dinners became sacred moments, blending laughter, stories, and silent understanding. The tensions of past years softened into forgiveness and acceptance, a testament to love's healing power. Elena continued to be Claire's closest confidant and strategic partner, their friendship deepening with shared victories and challenges. Together, they navigated the complexities of leadership, reminding each other to take breaks and find joy amid the pressure. On a rare weekend retreat, they talked openly about dreams beyond work, travel, art, and simple pleasures, a reminder of life's richness beyond professional ambition. Amid these moments of calm, a new opportunity arose. An invitation arrived for Claire to address the United Nations General Assembly, a platform where she could amplify the coalition's message to the world. Preparing her speech, Claire reflected on the collective journey, the obstacles overcome, the lessons learned, and the unwavering hope that propelled them forward. Standing before the International Assembly, Claire spoke with heartfelt conviction. She shared stories of communities transformed, families empowered, and the planet given a fighting chance. Her words transcended policy, touching on shared humanity and responsibility. "We are all stewards of this earth," she declared. "Our choices today will echo through generations. Let us choose courage, compassion, and unity." The response was overwhelming. Delegates pledged renewed commitments, and media coverage spotlighted the coalition's influence on global climate action. Yet Claire knew this was not an endpoint, but a call to deeper engagement. Returning home, Claire resumed her work with renewed purpose, launching initiatives focused on education, equity, and innovation. She championed programs to train the next generation of clean energy leaders, ensuring that opportunities extended beyond traditional centers of power. Scholarships, internships, and community workshops created pathways for diverse voices to shape the future. In parallel, Claire encouraged transparency and public participation in policymaking, recognizing that democracy thrived when citizens were informed and engaged. Town halls, digital forums, and partnerships with grassroots organizations became cornerstones of the coalition's approach. One afternoon, Claire received a letter from a young girl named Emma, inspired by Claire's UN speech and the coalition's work. Emma wrote about her dreams of becoming an engineer and changing the world. Reading the letter, Claire felt the ripple of impact, a reminder that leadership planted seeds far beyond what one could see. As the movement expanded, Claire faced moments of doubt and fatigue. The scale of the challenges. Climate change, inequality, political polarization, was overwhelming. But each time, she returned to the people whose lives had been touched, the farmers, students, families, and activists pushing for change in their own ways. In quiet moments, Claire often revisited her journal, writing not just of strategy and goals but of gratitude and hope. She captured stories of resilience, both hers and others, and the belief that progress was a mosaic of small, persistent acts. Her journey had taught her that leadership was not about perfection or control but about vulnerability, connection, and relentless optimism. It was about knowing that every effort, no matter how small, contributed to a larger tide of change. As she looked out her office window at the city skyline glowing in twilight, Claire felt a profound sense of peace. The road ahead remained long and uncertain, but she was surrounded by a growing community of dreamers and doers. Together, they were creating ripples that would one day become waves, waves powerful enough to shape a brighter, more just future. Claire smiled, ready to continue the journey beyond the horizon, carrying the hope and love that had guided her from the very beginning. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?